My name is Amrita Bakin Islam. I'm the Deputy Managing Director of Picard Bangladesh Limited and also a board member of the LFMEAB. Thank you for joining us today on this lovely autumn morning. The topic of our breakout session today is market access and new frontiers for export. And we have a vibrant panel of experts with us today who will provide us with insights and strategies for expanding market access and exploring new frontiers for export. Additionally, our panel members will talk about emerging markets and product trends in the global leather products and footwear arena. We will also discuss strategies for improving market access and ways in which the country can increase its export competitiveness. In the last fiscal year, Bangladesh exported leather products and footwear to 119 countries. But 79% of those exports were concentrated onto 10 countries. This statistic clearly highlights and underscores the need of the country to diversify and grow its export market destination. First up, let me give you a very brief overview of the sector currently. The leather goods and footwear sector is a $1.7 billion sector, and it's the largest export earning sector for Bangladesh. It comprises of 264 factories and has shown a tremendous potential from growth. From 2017 to 2023, 120 new factories have come into operation. Now, if we take a global perspective at the market, the current global leather goods retail market value is at $141 billion, and the footwear market stands at $175 billion. So we can clearly see that Bangladesh has a long way to go in terms of capturing a larger share of the global market value. So without further ado, I would like to take on the discussion to my distinguished panelists who will share their vast knowledge on issues such as key market access challenges, opportunities, and trade policies. Firstly, I have with me Mr. Mohammad Abdurrahim Khan, Additional Secretary, Export Wing, Ministry of Commerce, Bangladesh. Mr. Khan has over 20 years of work experience in the government of Bangladesh and has worked extensively on all divisional level field administrations in various capacities. In the central government administration, he has contributed significantly in making policy decisions during his tenure at the Ministry of Information, Planning Commission, and Ministry of Finance. In addition to basic professional training within the country, he has also been trained at the IMF, the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank, Asian Institute of Development Studies, and other public financial management institutions. Next up, I have Mr. Michael Roy, President, Manufacturing and Operations of Advanced Manufacturing Group. Mr. Roy started his career in biotech manufacturing, interestingly, and after a few years, he switched gears and moved to Asia, where he has spent the last 20 years developing his career within the supply chain game. Starting off as the product development manager for Callaway Golf Footwear, Mr. Roy has succeeded in working his way up the ladder to his current role, overseeing all Asian manufacturing and operations. Since his arrival in 2004, AMG has expanded from its sole location in Dongguan, China, to producing footwear in 3 regions of China, and also to Vietnam, Indonesia, Cambodia, and of course, Bangladesh. The company, in the meantime, has also grown nearly tenfold. Mr. Roy believes that the key to further expansion lies in unlocking untapped resources in countries such as Bangladesh. And finally, I have Mr. Lin Chao Yao, Jim, the Managing Director of Blue Ocean Footwear Limited. Blue Ocean Footwear is a Taiwan-Bangladesh joint venture company employing around 3,000 people and has been in operation for about 14 years. Mr. Yao has worked more than 11 years in the shoe business. He has over 10 years of experience as a branding and international strategic market leader of Greenland International Limited. He also specializes in the branding and marketing of ladies' and men's fashion and lifestyle brands. Thank you for being with us here today, all of you. So my first question today would be to Mr. Khan. So Mr. Khan, in addition to the traditional markets that we operate in, how is the government of Bangladesh planning to boost our market access to new markets in SAARC countries, in the Middle East, in Latin America, and also to the US, which is considered as a new export destination for leather goods and footwear?
Well, thank you. Before I go into the question you have specifically asking, let me first thank LFMAB to organize this wonderful BLISS show for the 4th time in Bangladesh, because this is not only a bridging between the buyer and producers, but also it has got link with the sustainability group, LWG group. So these are all helping to enhance our capacity in Bangladesh in the sense of production, in the sense of sustainability and best practices across the world. So this BLISS show again going to prove the worth not only for the sector leather, but also putting an example for other potential sectors in Bangladesh, those who are in export baskets. Now coming to your question, see, there is some general approach to enhance market in the international area. Like we do it, say, sourcing fair, we do it like trade fair, we do it like some trade promotion activities through some documentaries, etc. But in recent time, it is proved that even some online campaigning is very crucial to project your product quality and to project your capacity of those. Likewise, during COVID, when most parts of the world were stalled, but Bangladesh could sustain its export channel due to some precautions, due to some additional efforts from the government and from the private sector as well. Recently, Ministry of Commerce is considering to have free trade agreement and comprehensive economic partnership agreement like this. The reason is why we also now going beyond the the general approach. Like as LDC, we are enjoying the preferential market access in most of the advanced economic countries. But after graduation, you have to have some challenges. And for this, one instrument is going for bilateral trade agreement with a country where we think best possibility of our export, if I say even leather goods or footwear. This is why recent time we have identified as many as 14 countries, 12 to 14 countries, whom we are now working to test our bilateral agreement, maybe in the form of SEPA, maybe in the form of PTA or FTA. Another step from the government is that we are also putting emphasis on joint venture initiatives in Bangladesh. In other sense, it is FDI in our potential sectors like in leather. Unless you have FDI in leather sector, probably we are missing two things. One is capital, the other is technology. So for these both, government of Bangladesh in recent time, if I can correctly remember, leather sector development policy in 2019 from the Ministry of Industry, which specifically provisioned some facilities so that FDI can happen in leather sector for the market expansion and for the product development. So these are some initiatives from the government at the moment. And of course, in future, considering the LDC graduation, we are also going to identify some more specific interventions which can broaden our market, not in terms of diversification point of view, but also in terms of deepening the market. Because it is proven, top 10 countries you have mentioned, these are the large market, all right. So there are other countries, of course, 200 countries, but all 200 countries have not the capacity to consume your production. So deepening, I mean vertically and horizontally, both approaches quite needed so far. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Khan, for your wonderful insights and for sharing with us the forward-thinking policies that the government is undertaking in light of Bangladesh's LDC graduation, which is imminent in the coming years. And it is, these policies will definitely help us in achieving the target of $10 billion exports that our Honorable Prime Minister has said during our inauguration till 2030. So thank you very much for sharing those insights. Now, my next question is on to Mr. Roy. And Mr. Roy, I would like to ask you that from your long experience of working in China, what are the top 3 competitive advantages that you see for Bangladesh to have in order to be able to gain market share away from China into the US?
Thanks, Amrita. I will say that the first 2 came to me instantly. And that is, number 1, you have a geopolitically stable government, which makes it very easy to do business almost anywhere in the world. It's easy to travel here, it's easy to work here, it's easy but time-consuming to export products out of here. So that is a significant advantage that shouldn't be overlooked. The second one is that you have what I call an aspirational and motivated workforce. It's really a pleasure to spend time in the factories here and see the people that really want to do a good job. They put their heart and soul into the shoes that they make, and the products that come out are very, very good. So it's good to see that. It reminds me of a long time ago in China, and I'm seeing it here now. The third advantage that I'll say is I didn't really come up with it until I got here, and specifically to the BLISS show. And that is, there's a tremendous sense of collaboration in Bangladesh. If you look around at this show, it's supported by nearly every factory that we work with and factories that we don't work with. It's supported by all of the suppliers that we buy from here. It's supported by the testing bodies that certify the product here. It's supported by the government wholeheartedly, with the Honorable Prime Minister being the chief guest. So the sense of collaboration that I feel when I work here in Bangladesh is a huge advantage over a much more competitive and cutthroat situation in China. Those are 3 very important things.
Thank you, Mr. Roy. You have very succinctly highlighted one of the key factors that we take a lot of pride in, which is our human capital. And it is something which I'm proud to say that everyone who comes to Bangladesh always comments positively on, that the nature of the workforce and the attitude of the workforce, the can-do attitude, and the absolute willingness to work and learn. And the importance of Bangladesh in terms of geopolitics and as a stable geopolitical government that has been in place. So thank you for highlighting that, and thank you for your kind words.
I also want to add, you have great food.
Oh, of course, thank you. So my next question is for Mr. Yao. So, Mr. Yao, what do you believe are new product categories that can help to grow the footwear export from Bangladesh? You run Blue Ocean Footwear, and Blue Ocean Footwear is doing a lot of exciting things in terms of products. So can you please share those with us?
Hello. First of all, Hasavigun, I believe every style is possible in Bangladesh. Let me share my opinion. Hello everyone, I am Jim Lian, not Yao. I'm the 3rd generation shoemaker from Taiwan. Honest to say, Bangladesh is a very potential footwear industry country. I believe that produce sporty shoes, outdoor shoes, functional shoes, this will be very big helpful for Bangladesh export and also increase the value. Why? Look, you guys probably can recall all your shoe box in your home. I believe at least everyone have at least 2 pairs sporty shoes. One for jogging, running. Another one probably for sporty like a cricket, basketball, baseball. So some people, if they don't do the sport, probably only wear for smart casual, if I'm right. Just like my big belly, I don't do the sport, but I also have 2 sporty shoes. And another one, function shoes, like safety shoes, army boot, outdoor shoes. This is very, very easier for Bangladesh because we have abundant manpower. But this is our advantage. But why this is an advantage for us? Right now, we need supply chain because we have no choice. All this kind of style is simply to manage the material. Let's change. Easier to manage the lead time and the delivery material. But unfortunately, we're missing a lot of lady fashion, casual fashion. You know, if we want to make Bangladesh, every style is possible in Bangladesh, we also should to consider about that. Otherwise, we have no choice because everyone sitting here, we need try to build up everything, make everything is possible in Bangladesh. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim, for explaining that and sharing our insight and sharing about product, basically, how Bangladesh can move into more fashion footwear and the production of ballet shoes. So that was really interesting for us. I come back again to Mr. Khan. So the government of Bangladesh has already undertaken many key initiatives to drive export and to encourage FDI into Bangladesh and to promote the industry. What more can be done by the government, and what is the government undertaking so that we can reduce regulatory restrictions to make the business climate more friendly in Bangladesh?
Thank you. Let me start from the point the panelists mentioned. Everything is possible in Bangladesh. You know, he just speaking about the fashion of footwear and leather goods, but if you consider the export items of Bangladesh, more than 700 products we export to more than 200 countries and territories. So almost all the products is being exported from Bangladesh. It is not RMG only. I mean, it is not leather, it is not only plastic, it is not, you can imagine that more than 700 products we are exporting from Bangladesh. So this number basically refers that really everything is possible in Bangladesh. What we need is right technology and right policy with the right kind of entrepreneurs. See, in 1990, not very far from now, the wet blue export is banned from Bangladesh. And the result you see, we have tremendous diversification in our leather goods and finished leather goods, I mean, in footwear as well. So, right kind of policy can create an ambience where the right kind of entrepreneurs can, you know, invest and make things possible in Bangladesh. That is repeatedly being said today, yesterday, and day before yesterday. Well, like coming to your point that ease of doing business or business climate is not only an issue for Bangladesh, but also it has got some global implication. And for ease of doing Bangladesh, ease of doing business in Bangladesh, there are several initiatives and reforms taking place in Bangladesh. Some of them are proved very effective, some of them are proved partial, some of them are proved not enough. The journey is a continuous journey. Reform is not that you have done something today, from tomorrow everything is right in order. It is a continuous process. So reform itself is a continuous process in the sense that we have done so many things probably, but we have to do some more things for a better environment in the business. If I take your example, I mean some of the examples, say infrastructure development, beyond the regulatory framework. Infrastructure development is happening. Even day before yesterday, it was said twice, thrice, that the deep sea port is going to speed up our business because the lead time will coming down by 14 to 15 days. Again, there should be some certification issue. I met Sustainable Leather Forum who was working in the LWG earlier. So you see, even 5 years back, we were not that aware that LWG certification is a must for exporting our leather goods. Over the last 2-3 years from the Ministry of Commerce under the umbrella of Business Promotion Council, we are now working with the 3 associations, LFMEBA, the Tanners Association, and Finished Good Leather Association, just to orient our factory owners that why LWG certificate is a must and how it can be achieved. I mean, all the criteria can be fulfilled by our factory and employees and employers. So this is one, big step Ministry of Commerce and Business Promotion Council is doing. We have done also fire safety and electrical safety audit. All these initiatives are to make our industry ready for the international market. And it is not actually issue of regulatory binding in the barrier. Another initiative I can remember that the skill development. Even if you see, Bangladesh is very good at some basic products. We do not have much expertise so far on fashion design. As our previous speaker has mentioned, that many things are possible. I mean, any fashion comes to Bangladesh and we adapt very quickly, but the fashion and designing is still at the very primary level. So we are also working at this point that so that our employees and our technicians are more skilled in fashion designing so that we can link our international market with our products. So these are the some, if I can recollect, rename again. One is fashion and design development. One is infrastructure development that includes port facilities and internal. Another one is, of course, ICT development. And these are the some issues. Probably we can work more and deepen more so that we can export more. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Khan, for highlighting.
Just if you allow me.
Of course.
Even in Europe, if you go, 3-4 countries probably cannot produce more than 400 million pair of shoes in a year, Nasim bhai. In Bangladesh, we produce more than 350 million pairs of shoes in a year. So, it is sometimes, we learn that Bangladesh is a country of climatic heat, Bangladesh is a country of cyclone, flood, etc. But there are a lot of, examples. Like one I have mentioned that the footwear production in Bangladesh. Yes, this is one, another, if I take another 1 minute from you, that Bangladesh domestic market is so lucrative that our manufacturers are tempted to produce for the domestic market instead for international market. So there is no regulatory issues, but there is a motivational issues probably. This BLISS show is going to impact that way also, that not only in domestic market, we can be leader in the international market as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Khan, for illuminating the various different steps that the government has undertaken, infrastructural in terms of certification and ICT development, and for underlying the very practical nature of reform, that reform is always not a linear or straight line curve. One of the things, if we can go back to the previous slide, please, Jalal. One of the things that we had made, which was reflected in our president's speech during the inauguration ceremony, and which the HPM also mentioned, was the need for policy harmonization across all export sector, and our demand for the central or common bonded warehouse facility, which is also pertinent to the smaller producers in Bangladesh. So since you are from the ministry, and I am going to take my 5 minutes of fame and take this approach for you, so I would like to ask you that, these sort of expectations that we have from our sector, if we would get the support to take these forwards, and what will be done in the future in light of the success of BLISS 2023 and the dialogue that we have created.
If you remember the speech from the Honorable Prime Minister day before yesterday, she is categorically very much, in mind that there should not be any policy discrimination among the sectors. And she is confident that we should opt for a policy that is not going to, benefit only one or two or three sectors. This is why the bonded warehouse facilities you are referring in the National Export Committee under the leadership of Prime Minister, it was in March 20 probably, it was widely discussed that instead of giving bonded warehouse facilities for a particular sector, we should just open, for any raw material, for any intermediate goods or machineries, whatever the sector is, should enjoy the same facilities, meaning zero tariff for 1%. And that is a repeatedly saying over the last few months or years, I should say. I'm sure here Saiful Bhai, Nasim Bhai and Jia Bhai, there are many other entrepreneurs here. Even 2 years, 3 years back, it was not even told. We were not even asked, but now government also started saying that no, we should not go for a discrimination in considering the particular sector. Rather, we should adopt a policy across the sectors, across the board, so that the development happens for all the sectors equally. So this is number one. And I am sure the next export policy 23-26 is going to categorically reflect this policy approach, that we will definitely no more allow discrimination in policy. Rather, we are looking forward to harmonize our policy so that there is no discrimination, number one. Number two, that sometimes there are some hiccups due to some reasons, maybe for external reasons, like war in Ukraine, war in other parts of the world, and other catastrophe. But whatever the situation is, the government now saying, or I should say echo the demand of the private sector. So that is one very important paradigm shift in the policy, that earlier there was a division, private sector saying one direction, government saying the other direction. But you can definitely observe over the last few months and years that now government is also saying in the same tone, same voice, same direction. That means policy is going to be streamlined for all the sectors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Khan. Your last remark that government is echoing the demands of the private sector gives us much, much hope. And as a sector which is pretty much the flag bearer of trade diversification in Bangladesh, so really thank you very much for your positive outlook and for your reassurance on those 2 points. Now I come to Mr. Roy with my second question. So my question is, how is AMG helping to diversify the product base of exports from Bangladesh? And what advice would you have for Bangladeshi factory owners to become more attractive to US brands?
Thanks. So for the first part of that question, the simple answer is everything we can do, we're doing. And to expand upon that, we came here in 2014 or 15, and we started making leather work boots down in Chattogram. And a few years later, we started making military boots. And then we discovered Dhaka, and we started making men's leather shoes. And we continue to make those products, but what's more exciting is what we're developing now. Now we are developing men's and women's athletic shoes, kids' casual shoes, kids' winter boots, flip-flops, sandals. We have the two largest retailers in the United States asking us how can they get into, or how can they access manufacturing in Bangladesh. And so we're bringing those products to the factories here and working on them. So we're not making them yet, but we will be exporting them soon for sure. For the second part of your question, I've been to these, I went to the inauguration, I'm sitting here, and I'm hearing the factory owners ask for all the right things. Harmonization for all export sectors, the deep sea port, which is a very important one as well. What I'll tell to the factory owners, from the perspective of US retailers, what we need, and Mr. Mansour brought this up in his speech, what we need is speed. We need the same thing as a buyer. We need the factory owners to consider speed. Okay? You want speed to get stuff through customs onto a boat quicker. Our customers have a saying. When we come to you and we ask for a sample or a price, you're looking at a calendar. We're looking at our watch. So in order to compete in the US market for big brands and big retailers, you as factories have to get much faster. 7 days to turn around a sample or a price is no longer acceptable. You need to be thinking in how many hours can I deliver this back to the brand? Because what I'll say right now is the opportunity is out there. Retailers and brands are asking for it out of Bangladesh. They are coming to us, we are coming to you, and these opportunities are there. You just need to go out and get them or take them. Because if you take them, now you have them, and somebody else has to take them away from you. But these opportunities expire, and they don't last a month or 2 months or even a week anymore like they used to. The opportunities can be counted in the number of hours it takes you to grab them.
Thank you, Mr. Roy, for underscoring the need of the opportunities that are knocking at our door and the things that we need to do, because one of the key things as manufacturers in Bangladesh is something that we concur with you that we need to work on is our speed to market. And opportunities are of such nature, which you have highlighted, that they don't last forever. And if we do not grab the opportunities which are knocking at our door at the moment, someone else will come and grab them. So thank you for highlighting that.
They're not even knocking at the door. They're sitting in your lap.
Yes, and I think you are a perfect testament to that, that AMG is in Bangladesh, operating in Bangladesh, and the way that you are talking about Bangladesh, you know, that is the opportunity sitting in our lap this morning. So we need to do everything within our power and within our resources so that we can cash in on this opportunity, because of course it is time bound and it will expire unless it is harnessed in the correct way. So my next question is to Jim. So, and the question is centered around what kind of preparation is Blue Ocean Footwear taking for the new product types that we are discussing? What kind of innovation and what kind of technology is the factory undertaking? And can you share your insights with us, please?
Blue Ocean started from 2009. Luckily, we have a very good partner Apex Footwear. We are very proud of them. You know, when we start 2009, so if we have at least good partner, I don't think Blue Ocean can run it until now almost 14 years. So from the basic, we was the traditional footwear industry shoes factory. But from these years, we will do from traditional shoes footwear and transfer to the technology footwear industry. First, we're doing some equipment investment, like we buy a lot of a computer sewing machine, smart cutting machine. Then it will be more helpful for our quality stable. And also, this is another transfer to training our local technician to get another level. Second is the strategy plan, pushing all the suppliers moving to Bangladesh. And number two, supply chain localized. And also, we need a very strong team. We are doing training all our local staff and the worker how to use this kind of a technology machine and sharing our experience to transfer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jim. You highlighted some very important points and very important initiatives that Blue Ocean Footwear is undertaking, such as investment in new technology, a very important and pertinent point that is the transfer of technology, training of the local workforce, and sharing the expertise from one expert to the local workforce, because this is something that factories in Bangladesh really need, the transfer of technology and the technical know-how on manufacturing. And one thing that you mentioned is the localization of supply chain. So is there anything that you would like to share on that? You would like to elaborate more on that, on how the supply chain is being localized?
I have some suggestions about the supply chain localized. As we always think about the FDI, you know, as I mentioned, right now we are only doing like the functional shoes, hiking shoes, outdoor shoes, because we don't have the choice to make other like a fashion, casual, because the supply chain is not enough. So I suggest if we can increase the FDI, the foreign direct investment, then make all supply chain more fully in Bangladesh, then probably we can get another level to increase all the export value. So right now we have around like 3 Taiwanese factory like Golden Chang, Bay, Stella Footwear, and the Blue Ocean. We are very proud of our joint venture Apex. So we are working very hard to invite the supply chain come here. So I suggest if we can access new marketing to improve quality of output, Bangladesh need more foreign investment in leather and the footwear sector. And the number two, need more investment in backwards linking industry to get speed market, and the need FDI in this sector also. Number three, need investment in leather, especially the rawhide process industry, both by local big group and also foreign company. This is my suggestion and what we need to do. First priority. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jim. Thank you for underlining the importance of localizing the supply chain, which directly feeds into what Mr. Roy was telling, that until we have backward linkages, it will impact our speed to market capabilities as a country. And the way to increase the efficiency as a sector, it is very important that we have these backward linkages so that we can cut down on our lead time from getting raw materials, importing raw materials, and reacting and proactively, in fact, working for the new markets that we're ambitious to approach. So I would like to, we have come near to the end of our discussion today. I would like to our panelists to say some closing remarks. I would like to start with you, Mr. Khan, please, if you would say some concluding remarks.
Yes, it is not calendar and watch. It is now. I just want to say there was a philosopher, probably in Germany, Immanuel Kant. Some of you may know. Immanuel Kant was a person. He used to be very, very particular. So inhabitants in his village or town did not have that time this watch, I am talking about 400 years back. So they used to understand the timing that Immanuel Kant is here. Say when he crossed a river, so the inhabitant of the riverside can understand it is 4 o'clock, because Immanuel Kant never missed the time. Okay, why I am saying so, our industry is to put an example like this, that the buyer will not look at the watch or the calendar, they will look at our manufacturers, that who never fail supply products without delay. So let us, leather industry, take this leadership first, put example in front of the world, where everybody will recognize that yes, my order is going to Bangladesh, meaning it will definitely deliver before time. So let us stick on that. Now is our time. Let us put example before the world. We can do everything. We can make possible everything. We can make it happen now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. So definitely the time is now, and it is possible in Bangladesh. And on to that, I would like to move on to Mr. Roy to make his concluding remarks, please.
Thanks. For me, footwear is about emotion. Passion is obviously the reason that we're in this business. But if I think about the emotion in Bangladesh, for me, it's excitement. I'm excited every time that I know I'm making a trip here, because I like the people here, I like to work here, I like to see my team. And so it's about excitement in Bangladesh. That's the emotion that I get when I think about this. And just my final word, Nasim and Amrita, if I may make a suggestion for next year, I think we should change the logo to definitely in Bangladesh.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you for that definitive suggestion, and we do take it on board. Now on to Jim, if you would like to say a few final words before I open up the floor for questions. If you would like to say anything, Jim, just to conclude.
Okay, I have some suggestions to support all the industry in Bangladesh, especially for the foreign direct investment, FDI. So I divide for two parts. Number one, for the policy physical support. Number one, government should to continue existing physical support provide to export sector, including footwear export, like duty-free import, tax rebatable, and the VAT expansion. Number two, cash incentive provide to footwear export to sector should be continued at least until graduate to middle income country. Cash incentive neutralize our low productivity and the high cost to doing business and help us remain competitive. Second part, policy non-physical support. Number one, simplification of process and the reduction of number of government license and the permit. I think recently government has made some progress in this matter, but improvement is still necessary. Number two, port and the custom procedure should be more simplified, transparent, and faster. Recently, some improvement is observed, but need future improvement. Green channel for AEO process has been introduced, but completely failed in the implementation due to complex procedure. And the final one, I want to share our joint venture experience. Blue Ocean is Greenland Group first overseas investment in Bangladesh with Apex Footwear. We are very proud of our partner because we have a manufacturing in Vietnam, 3 factories in Vietnam, Cambodia, and also in China. All these overseas factories, not in Bangladesh, is 100% by Greenland Group. Only Blue Ocean is the joint venture with Apex Footwear. We are very proud of Apex team. Do us a lot of support. But I think, and I also told the FDI, the foreign direct investment, why we have a so successful joint venture relationship. Because number 1, trust. And number 2, cooperation. If we don't cooperation together, how can we make FDI join to Bangladesh together, make possible in Bangladesh? And number 3, respect. Because Apex Footwear is very respect our internal shoes organization. So really thanks for the Apex Footwear team. Give us a lot of support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim, for highlighting the points that investors in Bangladesh and for really underscoring the different points that sort of the demands that the sector wants in terms of reforms, and for sharing your wonderful joint venture story. I did not know that Blue Ocean, only in Bangladesh this was a joint venture, and in the other countries the companies are actually fully owned by the Taiwanese enterprise. So, and Mr. Khan, would you like to say anything to the demands that Jim has placed forward before we move on to opening the floor?
Yeah, these are all agreed. I mean, he has mentioned some commitment from the government, and there is no denial that. But of course, there are some, limitation. Like cash incentive, probably we can continue until November 2026, because after graduation we cannot anymore. Allow cash incentive for exporting. But yes, of course, we can go for an alternative, kind of government support in terms of fiscal support. Fiscal incentive is a kind of fiscal support for the export. Since we are graduating, probably, definitely we cannot provide the cash incentive, but we will definitely find an alternative like packaging or transportation. In any other form, we can provide fiscal support for the industry. And about the infrastructure development, of course, it is happening and it will continue to improve. So simplification of custom procedure and port facilities. There is a Export General Manifest in NBR. This Export General Manifest is a kind of online platform where we the procedure takes place very fast. So far, only 3-4 custom stations could establish these IT facilities for Export General Manifest. It's a kind of module. By November 2024, all the custom stations across the Bangladesh will be under this facility or platform. Then our custom procedure will be very, very fast, I can assure. So this is going to be happen without fail. Also, there is another initiative, what we call National Single Window in NBR. Although it is a old-aged, initiative, but is still not done fully. But I am sure by 2024, because everywhere there is a benchmark, there is a timeline. So by 2024, both export general manifest and national single window will be done at the NBR across the custom stations, border stations, land stations, port stations. So the procedure will be very, very fast. And about the port, yes, it is again our Honorable Prime Minister day before yesterday opined that we must facilitate the port, clearance very fast. Still, there is a survey which we call TSR that says that it takes only 4 days to release a product from the Chittagong port or Mongla port. But in practice, we listen from our entrepreneurs, it is around 10 to 12 days, which is really, really frustrating. But of course, there are initiatives and we have to, there is no denial that port should be very, very, at this level, it will not able to handle $100 billion export or import. At the moment we handle like if it is 60 billion export and 80 billion import, so you see this number. But if we go for 100 billion export, meaning 150 billion import, then we have to really, really do some excellent job in the port. And I am sure Matarbari Deep Sea Port is going to going to take care of this concern. So I hope all of the concern he raised will be addressed soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Thank you for actually taking a very practical approach to the issues discussed, because as Bangladesh grows in terms of trade and in terms of economic importance, it is important that our infrastructure, our port facilities, and everything grows with it, because Bangladesh is in a growth stage. What I often say is, like, when a child becomes older, they need different kinds of support, just as like when an infant needs different kind of support, a teenager needs different kind of support, like a 20-something-year-old needs different facilities, and Bangladesh is outgrowing what it used to have, and we need to take a very pragmatic approach as how we formulate our policies, how we develop our infrastructure plan to actually help this growing country and to harness the growing opportunities which are here at the moment, as Mr. Roy very definitively pointed out. And with that, I would like to open the floor for questions from our audience. So we will be taking questions from our audience. Mr. Islam in the front, please.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Saiful Islam. I'm the advisor of LFMEA board. At the same time, I work for Picard Bangladesh. We have a joint venture for the last 27 years. So in the BLISS inauguration, the president of LFMEA, again and again, he had been talking about the speed to the market. And accordingly, our Honorable Prime Minister, she has given some directives. There are some short-term, long-term, and immediate. I have a suggestion to Mr. Khan, who holds a very pivotal role within the Commerce Ministry, our parent ministry. Then in our country, we have AEO, Authorized Economic Operator. There are only 16 companies enjoying that. May I make a suggestion on the basis of the directive that the Honorable Prime Minister has given? Can you give a try that so that most of our LFMEA members, they become the AEO, Authorized Economic Operator, that you can take it. Another thing is that Michael and Jim, you have correctly said that speed to the market, we are losing our competitive edges. Michael has rightly said that do not look into the calendar, look at into your watch. And the investors are not knocking into your door, they are already there. So with the foreign investor, here, can we have some sort of clubbing and all, that so that the small investor, those who will be setting up factories for backward linkage and forward linkage, which is very much needed. Not only that, you have got good relationship with the customer. In most of the cases, a lot of the investor, they want to invest in the backward linkage and the forward linkage, but they do not have the contact with the so-called the buyer. That means that you know that the problem is the nomination. So if we can have a small group within the foreign investor and also the local investor having a group and talking to the buyer, and we, of course, we cannot ensure that, but the nomination is also it really matters, so that we can encourage the small investor to come into the backward linkage as well as the forward linkage. Thank you.
Mr. Khan, yes, and then
yes.
on to Michael for the second part of the
authorized
question.
economic operator, since the beginning, only two companies were given authorized economic operator license. And afterwards, probably 8 years, after 8 years, we can see now another 12 or 10, 12 companies given the authorized economic operator license. So the pace is really, really very slow. And it requires both capacity, both in public sector and private sector. But as far your concern that whether LFMAB members would be given priority in issuing AEO, I cannot guarantee, but of course this is a proposal, and we definitely can put forward to the National Board of NBR as an outcome of BLISS 2023, as an outcome of the speech by the Honorable Prime Minister day before yesterday. Of course, we can convey the message to the concerned authority, and let us see what happens. In addition to this, I want to also refer to tariff policy issued by the Minister of Commerce last 2 months back. This tariff policy, if it is being implemented, I can assure many of problems will be resolved. As he has also mentioned about the tariff reduction or zero tariff for raw materials and intermediate goods and machineries, I think this tariff policy is really, really going to be a game changer if we can really implement in its full length. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Roy?
Yeah, I would just like to say for the second part, as far as Advanced Manufacturing Group is concerned, we would be thrilled to participate in any group that supports the localization of what we call our Tier 2 materials by FDI. I just want to caution everybody that nomination is a competition. So welcome to set up here, but if you don't provide the best quality, the best price, the best delivery, you're never going to be nominated. So if everybody supports nomination by competition, we support localization and by foreign direct investment or even by local investment. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
My name is Kamal. I'm from ECM Footwear Limited. Thanks to the panelists for excellent deliberation. We had very hopeful and very prospective discussions on this. But I would, I ask for forgiveness because I would like to look at it from the other point of view, from the entrepreneurial point of view. You know, during the discussions, I think the main topic that has been hit again and again is the speed. Somebody is looking at the hours, somebody is looking at the calendar. So I think all this leads to this ease of doing business. Where are we? I mean, I had the opportunity to meet us, attend a seminar which was organized by the German Chamber on this issue, ease of doing business. So that time, it was I think a couple of years back, that time the rating was probably Bangladesh was 127 and it used to be 167, and it used to be 169 before. So there was an improvement, and we were obviously quite happy about it. And today I just checked the Google. Today we are 168. That time we were even worse than Afghanistan in the rating of ease of doing business. So whether you talk of FDI or local investment, I think this is the prime criteria to encourage the entrepreneur. We as entrepreneurs, we don't face problems at the higher levels. I mean, we communicate very well when we talk to the higher government officials. We talk to the ministers. The policies are good, but how do you actually change the working people? Because I remember when during the session in German chamber, when the time of question and answer came, so I rose up and I told to the dais that my question is not to you, but to my industrial colleagues. So I turned back and I asked that how many of you have the experience of walking into a government office and having a welcome, smiling welcome and saying that, what can I do for you, sir? Please raise your hand. And there was none. So I think this is an area. So my question is that one is, that working level, one is if you can make it go for automation, avoid the documental hazards. I mean, for a new entrepreneur to build a new industry, I don't know how many licenses requires. I think it's between 30 to 40 licenses, right? And my business age is almost 50 years now. I started in 1973, and when the reserve of Bangladesh Bank was probably in $100 or $1,000. So I've traveled through these phases, and there are phenomenal, improvement. There are phenomenal changes in the every affair, but we still expect to go higher and higher. So this is one of the suggestions that I make. The other thing that
Sir, if I may respectfully interrupt, can we get to the question?
This is the question. I just was going to ask the question. Can I ask the government representative here that what are you doing to motivate these low and mid-level people? I mean, this is an important criteria. Even if you make the macro projects like deep sea or changes in the policies, but these are the same people who would be working. I don't want to explain more on it. I think people understand it. So I'd like to see the mind of the government. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. There is no denial. The pain you have taken in your journey for your business. To be frank, all of the entrepreneurs here and beyond, this room, have almost the same experience. The tremendous pain they had to take for their business, for their investment. Saying this, I can say much done for the higher level officials in the government so far in Bangladesh. Training, motivation, sensitization, etc. But not enough done for the staff level you are referring to. So I'm not sure exactly the same English word for Sanjeevani. Nasim bhai, you can help me. Sanjeevani. From the last year, we have introduced a training program for our staff. Those who are, field level staff. Those who are going to your door and knocks you and ask for service or intern something. So we are now organizing Sanjeevani training program for them so that their moral standard can be improved, so that their service delivery can be improved. This is one. Number two is that automation. If we can do full automation, then discretion is not there. So if automation takes place at the full level, then there will not be any discretion, and there will not be any gap in the service delivery. I can take one example from Mr. Saiful Islam, that last week probably he has applied for a IRC, import registration certificate in CCIND office. He was given this license within 8 hours in the midnight. So why it happened? Because automation is there. So we have done some automation in some offices, but we could not done enough automation in the NBR. To be frank, automation has taken place in many places, many government offices, ministries, agencies. You check, not much done at the NBR level. So once the automation done, I have mentioned in my earlier response that by 2024, you will see an NBR who is fully automated. And thereby, you will not be in a trouble, in pain. You don't need to sit in the government office for your service. So by these two things, skill development, motivation at the lower level of the government structure, and the automation, I think will address the concern you have raised today. Thank you.
Thank you. On to our next question, we have Mr. Singh.
And just 1, 2, 3 example that IRC, ERC, these are now extended up to 5 years. And trade license is going to be extended up to 5 years. So whoever likes, like passport, he can renew for 5 years, or he or she can renew for 2, 3 years. So these are the reforms taking place. I am sure other reforms will be in place. Thank you.
Thank you. So our next question, please.
Good morning. I'm Vipin Seth from India. I belong to leather sector as well as the footwear component sector. I've been traveling to Bangladesh from last 30 years, and all the BLISS I have attended. My concern is that after seeing the growth of export to India, 220%, why not the import of components should be increased, and investment from the component industry from India should be initiative in Bangladesh by providing the land at a very less price, because in India also the investment is coming for footwear and all those things, and the Tamil Nadu government is giving the land at a very, very cheap price and all those things. So Bangladesh being a very neighbor country, and we are associated with your country from 1971 and all those things. So we are too friendly. So we are ready to give you investment from India also in the component sector. What he said, local. See, our Prime Minister also said vocal for local. Like same thing we can generate here also. We can bring the investment and we can make the component for your industry, and I'll be there to help you in every aspect. And second part is that the import duty on the raw materials, it should be reduced, which is very high, because you said there is a domestic market also, export and domestic market also. So domestic market, so there's import duty should be reduced so that more goods should come from India, and which is acceptable to the shoe industry and all the sectors here. This is my request.
Hey, Jim, I'm glad I'm not sitting in that seat.
Okay, if I start with the last one, in Bangladesh, there is a structural problem in our revenue generation, that we are heavily dependent on indirect tax than direct tax. So this structural problem need to be adjusted. So our tariff policy, we just issued 2 months back, is going to address this basic problem. Structural problem I term personally, that the direct tax should be given focus instead indirect tax. So if you solve this, then the import duty will coming to the level you are expecting. And the first concern you have raised, of course, we welcome Indian investment and we welcome more sourcing from India as you.
Absolutely, Mr. Khan. And if I may add, as a person from the sector, so in Bangladesh, we would also like to make in Bangladesh. As India, as your Honorable Prime Minister is promoting to make in India, we would like Indian component manufacturers to come here, invest and make in Bangladesh, so that we can make our supply chain stronger, localize them, and we have Mr. Khan here who is extending all of the support. So we have fantastic trade relationships, we have fantastic bond with our neighboring countries. So definitely Bangladesh, come to Bangladesh, make in Bangladesh. Let us take a regional approach and grow regionally as well as globally. So I think we should give Mr. Khan a chance to rest his voice. So the next couple of questions, maybe we can direct them to Mr. Roy and Jim. So please, the next question I would like to be directed to one of them.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Shahadat, Executive Director, MapShoes. My question is to Honorable Additional Secretary. For the local entrepreneurs who are setting up business outside the economic zone, is government considering to introduce tax holiday? Because for those who are setting up within the EZ or economic zone, they are getting tax holiday, but it is we see it as a clear discrimination with them, and we are losing competitive advantage due to that tax discrimination. So what we propose, we can have a favor from NBR in this regard.
So I thought I will be in rest, as our moderator mentioned. See, this is again a structural issue. I mean, the export processing zone or special economic zones are created for very purposive reason. I mean, and the incentives or facilities given to these special economic zones has some very broad objective. So at the moment, I can say there is not any idea to streamline the facilities for non-economic zone and economic zone units. So far, my knowledge goes, government is still not considering anything like this. But of course, policy harmonization is a continuous process, and in this harmonization process, many of the policies will be streamlined and unified. I'm not sure whether it is also going to take place. But at the moment, there is no such idea in the government. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Ms. Taylor sitting in front. The next question, please.
Hi. Okay, so this is a different question. I've either participated in or attended all three of these sessions now over the last couple of days. One of the things that I think is missing is a connectivity amongst all of these different areas. And one thing that I would ask is, when you're talking about increasing the speed of response and answering for samples or quotes within hours instead of days or weeks, are you considering the downward pressure that that puts on these suppliers, especially when they are emerging and growing, to fulfill that and to meet those requirements? Because my concern would be that the people at the grassroots, the people at the factory floor, are going to be put under increasing pressure and might not be rewarded for that. And I've seen it happen in other regions. And we end up with a workforce that is overworked and underpaid in order to meet those excessive demands of brands and retailers. So is there some thought that's given to that within this whole growth explosion that you would all like? Because I think it's really important, and it's a key area that I think is missing.
Michael, would you?
Yeah, I will. I'll take the first part of that, and then I'll let Jim, who actually runs a factory. Absolutely, we are considering that. And for me, I don't think the slowest part of the process is the actual manufacturing of the footwear. The slowest part of the process is getting from, here's my idea, to cut, stitch, and assemble, and then, for the factory owners, assembled shoes, their door to the boat. So within that middle segment of the actual manufacturing, for me, that's not the slowest part. For me, it's sort of the mentally taxing work up front, where yes, it's a grind and you have to do it, but it's one of those things that we need to work on some automation. We're still doing costs of shoes with a pencil and paper. And I'd love to see some sort of formula where you can say, okay, here's the shoe, here's the percentage of materials, press a button, and out comes your cost, within 10%. Because with a pencil and paper in a week, we're getting within like 75%, and that's just not good enough. So I think there does need to be some innovation and automation on the front end of that, and then I'll let Jim talk about the workload for manufacturing. But I'm not seeing that Bangladesh is slow for cut, stitch, and assemble. They do the speed that everybody else in the world does. And then I'm going to let Mr. Khan talk about the back end. Jim?
Sorry, can you repeat again your...
My big concern is that one of the things that I love about this country is that you do have a very motivated, very engaged workforce. They do want to do a good job. They do want to improve their livelihoods. So that's great. But if you take advantage of those people, then you could lose that motivated workforce, and then you get into the poor quality, and we don't want to do that. We want to maintain that quality as well. So in the race to meet these new demands and new opportunities, how are we going to protect the workers at that factory level to make sure that they're well provided for, that they're not overworked, and that they maintain motivated and maintain the quality that is expected? Because one without the other is no good. And I've heard a lot about opportunity and profit and growth, but you have to protect the people that will enable that growth. The automotive part, I get to a degree for maybe design, and maybe putting together quotations and proposals, and yeah, maybe a little bit. But on the delivery side of it, you know, if you suddenly get a whole swathe of new orders in, how are you going to deal with that on the factory floor?
So first thing, this is kind of our strategy plan. As I said, we are going from traditional footwear industry to technology industry. How can we ensure all the quality and make everything is more state-fied? Right now, we are doing like the technology. We have the computer sewing machine, and we open the paper pattern from our China Development Center, Vietnam Development Center. So this is less human work, so through the computer. But in the future, our future plan, we will also planning to do the development in here, because from the beginning, if we didn't do the development in here, start from here, so how can we ensure all the quality, all the procedure is correct? Then probably from the transfer from Vietnam or China, sometimes the material delivery cannot get in time. So for Michael, we cannot provide them the good sales sample, development sample. So in our future plan, probably we will consider development also in the local. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
I need to respond to your concern. Without this, this will be unmet. In recent time, I mean last week in the cabinet, the amendment of Bangladesh labor rules is passed, whereby very specific protection, I mean rights of the laborers were ensured. One example I can remember that the maternity leave for the women workers in the factory, it was extended. Yeah, I mean by 1 week.
3 weeks more.
3 weeks more. Yeah, with pay. So I'm not sure how many countries have the maternity leave with pay.
Higher than USA right now.
Yes.
Like every country in the world.
Okay, we are not complacent. We are not complacent. And another one is the registration for a labor union is again reduced to 15%, which was, I mean, 20% of the workers can form a labor union in a factory. Now it is reduced to 15%. These two examples, there are other reforms as well in the recent, amendment of the labor rules. And you also, I'm sure you're also aware that our labor law in recent times amended twice, once in the 2013, another in 2018. I am talking about Bangladesh Labor Act. And new Labor Act is coming place in next year. In between, we have amended the Bangladesh labor rules, which I mentioned just. So these are the examples where from the government, the rights of the laborers are ensured. And from the entrepreneurs, I can give you some wonderful examples, schools, community hospitals, a daycare center. So, ration, I mean the subsidized rate of food shop, all these are in factories. If you go around Dhaka and visit some factories, you will see these examples.
I've seen some lovely examples.
Yes.
I have. And that's what I want to make sure that doesn't get lost in the growth.
Yeah.
And that we don't lose that motivated workforce. Yeah. And we have a balance with the automation as well.
And just let me finish.
You've got to give jobs. Don't replace them with machines.
National Waste Commission, is just formed. And they are going to submit their report by this November. So you can be sure that the high demand from the brand or demand from the factory owners is not harming the rights of the laborers and their wages.
Absolutely. And Ms. Taylor, I think it...
Can I make one quick comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
I understand the question that you're saying, which is this immediate opportunity creates a problem in the factory. These shoes need to be made right now. But forward-looking, all of these opportunities do exactly what you just said, which is create more jobs. You can't make this many shoes with the current workforce. These factories have to add jobs in order to keep up with these opportunities and automate as much as you can. We still don't have the machine where you put the cow in one end and the shoe comes out the other end. People are required to make shoes.
You need the skill, you need the
expertise, absolutely.
But it has to happen at the same time. So don't put the horse before the cart. Make sure that these guys are putting in the infrastructure to cope with those increased demands and not fighting from behind, because that's when you get into trouble. I've seen it happen. So, you have such a huge potential at the moment. You just have to do it right.
Absolutely. Thank you for pointing out the sustainability aspect of the whole issue, Deborah. So now we have...
To just what Deborah just mentioned, Mike and Jim, that we all know this. We are in a very difficult economic situation, that the economic in Europe, in America, is in really difficult time. The retailers, especially the buyers, I've been telling people that buyers are spoiled kids. So they come to Bangladesh, they said, oh, we moved the order to Bangladesh from China, you got discounted for 30%, 40%, some even ask 50%. So what advice you guys would give these Bangladesh manufacturers or entrepreneurs? How can they deal with this unreasonable price squeezing?
I can speak for Advanced Manufacturing Group. I have never told a single one of my customers that Bangladesh is cheaper than China, ever. I'm not going to any of my factories and saying, I need you to be cheaper than China. I need you to be the same. That's it.
Thank you. Next question, of course, to our president, who has been trying to get my attention.
Thank you. A couple of comments. Starting off from what Michael said, my name is Naseem Manzoor. I represent the association and Apex. What my friend Michael just said, I think to my fellow Bangladeshi entrepreneurs, factory, all of us work in factories. When a buyer says to you, you need to be cheaper than China, give him coffee and tell him to get out. Tell him to get out of our factory. There is no reason why we have to be cheaper than China. The cost of doing business, I'm not going to put pressure on my good friend Rahim Khan again, is higher. Okay, it is higher. It's going to get lower, but it is higher. The only thing which is lower right now is labor. Land is more expensive, electricity is more expensive, airplanes are more expensive, hotel is more expensive. So why are you coming here? You're coming here because you need another source. So let's learn to also man up and tell these people who try to squeeze us, you cannot squeeze us anymore. Let's band up together and tell these people who say $2 LOP, thank you very much, please go somewhere else. I don't work for $2. We need to feed our people. Our people are people, they're not animals. Okay? So you need to pay our price. Demand the price, be strong. Okay, this is my first. And to echo what Michael said, we don't need to beat China, we need to meet China. Match the price. Be as competitive. So I think that's my first point.
Don't waste the coffee either.
I'll save it for you, right? You like the food. Second, to your point, Deborah, I'm going to just point out one thing, and your concern is valid.
But I think the translation with the Honorable Prime Minister's speech didn't happen. In the last part of her speech, day before yesterday, she said something very important to all of us. She said, take care of your people. Okay, and I think the one fundamental difference about the Bangladesh footwear and leather goods industry, unlike Vietnam, which is 75% foreign owned, is that we are all local. I'm a Bangladeshi, so is my colleague working in the factory. There is no reason for us to want to exploit our people. Okay, so I think our government, our ministry, and our employers, we want to provide the best working conditions that we do. To the point that you raised, I think, again, the Prime Minister said it. It's quite incredible. She said, you know, what's the greatest strength of the Bangladeshi workforce? I think she said it on the speech, or maybe she was saying it when we were talking. They willingly work extra hours. I think she said it in the Bangla speech, right? They are willing to do more overtime. And there are many countries left in the world, they're not willing to do overtime. So the overtime is a source of additional income. The problem is when the overtime is forced, when the overtime is not an option or excessive. So the laws are there. Implementation is a problem everywhere, but we are working on it. Now, a couple of responses. I have to respond to my older brother, Vipin Seth from India, who I've known my entire life, or half my life. With all due respect, Vipin ji, you said give us cheaper land in Bangladesh. We are 1/10 your size. Do you give me cheaper land in India when I go to invest? No, you don't give me cheaper land, my friend, okay? I think that mentality has to stop. We have special economic zones. We want same treatment for everybody. So you want to invest here, it has to make business sense for you. We are not going to do this with one thing for China, one thing for India. We're not doing that. Okay, so I think the business decision to invest is on you. It's on the Chinese, the Taiwanese, the Koreans, the Indians, you're all welcome. But I think in a country as small as Bangladesh to come here and say, I want cheaper land, then I want cheaper land. Why you? I want cheaper land for my factories. So there's a big pressure on land. The Taiwanese are used to having 100-acre factories where they have a golf course. They don't get it here. Zia is here, is trying to get a pouch-end factory for 100 acres. We said, no, get lost. We don't give you 100 acres in Bangladesh. So I think that conversation should not continue. Now, to the question, to Michael. Get ready, Michael. Right?
Bring it.
All right. Commercialization. You know, we talked about, I think the footwear industry is very specific. You said it rightly. The actual time to make the shoes is actually not what wastes the time. The sampling process. What are you doing in China, for example? We are always waiting. We have no mold factory here. The sole factories are slow. Waiting for components to come in, come out. Rahim Khan is going to fix customs. Maybe when my grandson is ready, that's not going to happen. So when is this going to happen? Can we use technology? Can we use 3D printing? What are you doing in China which we can transfer to Bangladesh where we can make the samples specifically for shoes faster in Bangladesh using technology? Thank you.
The very simple answer is the advantage China has in that particular instance, the development and commercialization, is they are local to the supply chain. What we need is all of that supply chain to be localized here. We need to be able to get all of those components locally so that those materials are available in a day and don't need to be shipped in. So that will solve the problem. That's not going to happen tomorrow, I get that, but it is happening slowly and it is happening definitively. So how do we accelerate that? Foreign direct investment would be a good one. I have already convinced one of my China factories to do a joint venture with one of our local factories. I am already talking to some of our component suppliers in China. Come open up in Bangladesh. You can supply, you will be able to supply to the factories for development in Bangladesh. Acceleration of that is how we will solve this problem. We can't be reliant on China materials if we're going to speed up the front end of that manufacturing.
Thank you, Michael. And with that, I'm sorry, we are running on overtime, so I would have to close the floor for questions right now. So we had...
I just want to add one thing.
Well, my president is instructing me to go on, so I will have to open. So,
okay,
Mr. Zia.
Just the last question. This is Zia from the Bay Group.
So we'll take two more questions. Thank you, Zia.
Okay, I just want to add with Mr. Vipin Seth, we run a special economic zone in the Bay Group. So the government, you can go to Mirashore, you can get it for $3 per square meter per year lease for the land. You can go the Indian economic zone is in Mongla, which is around $2.5. And you can check in the internet also. In Indonesia, you can't get any land less than $65 per square meter. And Pauchan recently signed in Tamil Nadu government, that is also more than $25 per square meter. So which is not a free land, the Pauchan has got it from is not a very free land. They had paid. There was some price for that. Yeah, they are making for a special economic zone, but there is some price they're paying. So Bangladesh is one of the cheapest land you can get it in compared to this region, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Cambodia. So I think that you can check in on that. And one more last questions to, I think, Mr. Roy, that most of the factory, what we are facing is a compliance issue. We are trying to get it to, because when we try to do in the brands, so what the brands can do for fostering the compliance, especially the Neropon and other, because it takes a long time. And there are some places, I think some of the rules for the compliance, which is really very unrealistic, because we need to do upgrade, especially the steel structure. When you go to a steel structure, the painting is okay for different country. For 4 hours, painting is okay. But when it comes to Bangladesh, they make a lot of issues. So I think, is there any way brands can do anything? And the last questions to Mr. Khan, that one of the things is the fostering the process. The government is doing we need your help from the commercial ministry, that the LCL cargo, in Chittagong port, we face for the LCL cargo, it take a long time. How the Ministry of Commerce can help with the Ministry of Finance or NBR to speed up that process. Already it's under process, but we need your help to shorten the time for the LCL cargo release, and also the airport freight station, which is a policy is under the Ministry of Finance. So we needed to implement that, because the airport, when you get the goods, it takes some long-term time to release especially goods. So we request for an airport freight station. So we need some support from the Ministry of Commerce for these two cases. Thank you so much.
You want me to go first?
Yes, please.
Okay. You're not going to like my answer. Let's just start with that. Compliance compliance is the new green. It's the new sustainability. Before it was, you got to be sustainable. Now we have to be compliant. I can tell you what the brands are going to do, or what I can do for you for the brands, and then I can just tell you what I think. What I can do for you is nothing. The brands set their level of compliance, and they stand by that. The issue that we're facing, and the way that we could potentially fix this, the issue we're facing is that there are so many compliance bodies out there. And they all go in and they make a pitch to the brand, and they say, when we audit this factory, we guarantee you this level of compliance. And the brand says, I like that. I believe in that. That is good. It has respect for the process, has respect for the people, it has respect for the environment. And at the same time, there's another body that is doing the same pitch with 95% the same requirements, 95% the same requirements to another brand. And that brand says, I like this. It respects the process, it respects the people, it respects the environment. And now you're one factory, and this brand comes in and says, you got to hit this level of compliance. And this brand says, I like your factory, but you got to hit this level of compliance. So now you got to do 2 audits for 95% the same stuff. And now multiply that by 100 brands with 100 different compliance standards. So you can see where I'm going with this. This brand is not going to say, well, that brand, they're better than us, well, let's go with theirs. No, they're the best. They have chosen the best compliance standard. And this brand has chosen the best compliance standard. I will tell you, you guys are ahead of many other countries in that you do have Neropon, which is sort of the overarching. There are still all these other compliance bodies underneath, but to fix this problem, and this may be a government initiative, sorry. I don't think this is your department, though. This may be a government initiative to say, this is the Bangladesh standard of compliance. We as the government will back this standard of compliance, and any brand that wants to work here can review this standard of compliance, and we will guarantee that all of our manufacturing locations in this country will adhere to these compliances. They do that with the labor laws already. So why not do that with the structural laws, the building safety laws, and that kind of thing? But it's going to take an entire country uniting and saying all of our work sites will achieve this level of compliance. And what we've seen in Bangladesh with the Alliance and the Accord and now Nearupon is that it just changes. And factories that were built 10 years ago can't keep up. You have to rebuild, which is not tenable, obviously. So my solution, which may be impossible, is to unite the industry, get everybody on the same level, and have it government-backed that says to anybody coming here, you want to produce here, we will guarantee that our factories meet this standard. And then when the brands come in, they know there's a single level, they all get the same, every factory achieves that level, and they can feel comfortable with that. This is about brands feeling comfortable with the decision that they made. So don't let them make the decision, make the decision for them.
Interesting.
Possible in Bangladesh.
Mr. Khan, if you could respond to the second part of the
I'll
question.
be very quick. Before I coming to the question Jia Bhai raised, Nasim Bhai was a skeptic. I mean, made a kind of doubt that the reform or automation in NBR probably may not happen even my grandson, you referred to that. But Nasim Bhai, yes, you might have some logic in your mind, but I can cite many examples that automation has taken place in many agencies and government offices, I told you. For NBR, probably it is taking longer time, but it is going to happen. And there is no denial, because you cannot just, we are also a signatory of cross-border paperless trade. So we have still some time. The self-certification of rules of origin was not electronically done even 2-3 years back, but now it is being done electronically. So improvements are there, and improvements is taking place, and automation in NBR is going to taking place, I am sure, and you have to believe it, because without this, the government ecosystem will not be functional, number one. And number two, Jia Bhai, I will urge LFMEAB to prepare an outcome document for this BLISS 2023, compiling all the suggestions, all the recommendations from your side, from buyer side, from our partner side, and list them and forward it to Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Finance. Since Ministry of Commerce is also a partner of this venture, so I think Ministry of Commerce will undertake a coordination meeting with all the concerned agencies. The advantage with us is that our Honorable Prime Minister already agreed upon almost all the proposals raised by the President LFMEB. So let us put them together. It is not only two issues, I mean, in the airport and the Chittagong port. Let us put all the recommendations, all the necessary suggestions. We are coming, across here today, yesterday, and day before yesterday, and let us deal this matter in a coordination meeting at the government level. I am sure this problem will definitely remove, because it is you saying possible in Bangladesh, and it is you have to prove possible in Bangladesh.
Wonderful.
Thank
Way
you.
to throw back our tagline at us, Mr. Khan. So I see Mr. Kamal at the end. He's been trying to get my attention for a long time. So it will be him, and then we'll take one last question, please.
Firstly, I want to thank Roy. It's a fantastic suggestion that if the compliance can be sort of kept under one roof. So LFMEAB already does a compliance for us. And I think it can be a fantastic dialogue that can be started with the Ministry of Commerce, that this compliance that we have can be pushed to brands to be considered the final compliance. Of course, the Ministry of Commerce and our LFMEAB has to take that responsibility in ensuring that quality. But for us, one way, we go into the US, we need a RAP. We go to the Europe, we need BSCI. For India, now BIS. So 3, 4, 5 compliances for each pack. It's just taking the cost of the goods higher. It's adding 20 to 30 cents per pair, depending on the size of the factory and the customer. But so thank you. That's a very valuable point that you've mentioned, and this we should work on from our organization LFMAB with the Ministry of Commerce, if that is possible. My question is actually to Mr. Roy. You know, all these big companies, when they're coming to Bangladesh, talking about FDI, joint ventures, and other things, it's a very positive note. But we see that happening with the cream factories. So factories like Apex, factories like Blue Ocean, but now this after 10, 15 years of this industry being matured, the maximum number of factories that we have are two-line factories, one-line factories. We as small, medium enterprises, how can we look positively towards getting in collaboration with brands like yourself and working for you? Do we actually have a chance, or are we wasting time trying to fix it? Are you looking at factories with, say, capacity of 50,000 pairs per month for leather shoes maybe? Are they good enough for you? Should we work, should we push to get in your list of nominated factories? I want your opinion on how you look at factories which are one, two-line, small, medium enterprises in Bangladesh.
Great question. Thank you for that. The first thing I'll say is customers that need 50,000 pairs of capacity per order are probably in the single digits. The number of customers out there that would love to work with your one or two line factory is far greater than the customers that need 50,000 pairs per order. So the answer to your question is yes, give me your card. The second part of your question about joint venture is, let me give you my card. I'd love to invite you to come visit me in China. I can introduce you to a number of people who would consider investment in small factories. So yes to both questions.
Thank you, Mr. Roy. Gentleman in the front, please, if you can stand up and introduce yourself.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Shaminur. I'm the director at Pegasus. It's one of the oldest companies in Bangladesh, but we do business in locally. We just started exported to Japan and Italy. So I just want to know, can you tell us a bit more about the US market? Because there are so many things going on now, war, change of technology. So where do you see the market will go in next 10 to 15 years? Also, there are online sales going up. It's by a few $1 billion, I think, in the USA. So does it affect the manufacturing facilities in Bangladesh or back in Bangladesh? So give us, please, your expert opinion.
It's amazing right now. It's just so much fun in the USA. No, so I'm going to, all of my guys over here are going to laugh because I'm just going to quote my boss. Here's what we're dealing with in the US market. COVID came and everybody was locked up at home. And everybody has a computer. So what did they do? They couldn't go out. So they started shopping online. And all of the brands sold out immediately because everybody was buying all their products, not just shoes, everything they were buying. People were buying cars online, delivered to their house. And all of the brands said, well, it's COVID. So we don't want to buy a bunch of shoes because we don't know what's going to happen. And then COVID extended, got longer, and people kept buying online. And all the brands said, oh, it's it. This is the new. And boom, orders went in. Factories were full. I was taking calls every day. Why do you need 6 months to deliver my shoes? See, I didn't overload them. I extended deliveries. Why do you need 6 months? I said, capacity. And all of the factories were full. This was in 2021. And the shoes were made. Everybody was great. The brands were like, the shoes are coming, and we're going to sell out because everybody's buying. And this buying continued. And then what happened was all the shoes got on a ship, got into the port, a little bit of hold up in the port. I don't know if you saw pictures of Los Angeles. At times there were 70 container ships waiting to unload. So now we're through 21, we're getting into 22. People are still buying, there's still demand. The ports open up, and now all the shoes land. And the brands are like, this is going to be great. We've got all these shoes, everybody's buying, and they delivered all the open orders, and the consumer's like, great, I got all my shoes now. And then COVID stopped. And people were like, awesome, look at my shoes, I'm going outside. Nobody's online, nobody's buying more shoes, and the brands are like, wait a sec, I got all the inventory here. Why aren't my orders coming in anymore? Why aren't the retailers buying more shoes? So what we ended up with midway through 2022 is that the brands had tons of inventory, the retailers had tons of inventory, and the consumers had tons of inventory. And that left the factories with all this capacity. So from mid-2022 to now mid-2023, that's what we're sitting on. We're sitting on with extra capacity and over inventory. It is working itself through. It's slower than everybody had hoped. So my initial outlook I would give you for the USA is that by mid next year, I believe the majority of brands will have worked through their inventory. And I believe the second half of 2024, we will start to grow back to where we were. This is a short-term problem. Short-term is 2 to 3 years. Your question about 5 to 10 years, there have been so many lessons learned that in the next 5 to 10 years, once we resume a normal pace of growth, I think everybody will grow very cautiously like they should have and could have done during that period of time. So I see a return mid-2024 to sort of normal production. We look at back to school as a big season for us in the United States, so back to school is next fall. We hope that we will be seeing production orders to deliver in that time, which would be approaching normal. And then from that period forward, we expect just sort of a normal course of growth. Now, to address your point about online, one of the things that we saw during COVID and whatever, a few brands went out and said, I don't need retailers. I'm just going to go direct to consumer, because everybody was buying online and they thought, oh, this is it. This is the new, the future. They tried that and it hasn't worked out as well. And brands that really took a direct to consumer approach are struggling more than brands that continued with sort of online or e-commerce and regular retail. And so those brands that said D2C, direct to consumer only, are in a worse position than the brands that kind of stayed the course. So I think online buying went like this and then like this. I think it will also just take sort of a normal course of growth that it had, like a steady conservative growth, but we're not going to see that spike again because the brands know that by trying that, they got stuck. As soon as it went like that, they got stuck because they built for that and then it went down. I hope that answered your question. 10 years from now, smooth sailing.
You never know what's going to come.
Thank you for that, Michael. So with that, I close the floor. Mr. Khan wanted to have a few closing remarks on compliance.
Not exactly a closing remark. About the compliance, someone proposed that Ministry of Commerce and LFMEBA can work together to address the compliance issue. But for this, I have a suggestion for LFMEB, that there is a sustainable leather forum, there is a leather working group and other associations. I think LFMEBA can, organize a kind of discussion, focus group discussion with these, different set of benchmarks for compliance, and then if we can make a global consensus on the different associations or group working for compliance, then it would be easier for the industry to address. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. I think, yes.
Can I just say on that, that's part of the work that we do at the foundation is allowing equivalency, because we understand this constant round of audits that people are put through, and it's not appropriate. You have businesses to do, you don't want to be doing audits every day. So we have an equivalency approach, and it's something that we've already started talking about with the association, about getting together to see what we can do. So thank you. We're on the same wavelength.
Well, thank you, everyone. I think a number of high notes have been hit on this discussion today. One very resounding point was like for Bangladesh to have a Bangladesh standard of compliance, which Michael, you very eloquently pointed out, that make up your own mind, set your own standards, and then let people come to you rather than have them dictate the terms for you. Another thing was the importance of speed to market, and thank you, Jim, for sharing your wonderful story of your wonderful experience of joint venture in Bangladesh, and I'm sure that acts as a guiding roadmap for anyone aspiring to do joint ventures and to take the industry forward. With that, I would like to thank all of you. You have been a magnificent audience for your spirited inclusion in the dialogue, and thank you to our eloquent speakers today for making this such a wonderful session. Thank you, everyone. With that,
Thank you, Amrita.